Welcome to our training on preventing slips, trips, and falls for construction. Chances are you have slipped or tripped at least once in your life. If you were lucky, you may have caught your balance in time to avoid falling. Most people have experienced a painful bump or bruise from some kind of fall. Falls that are more serious can cause injuries like broken bones or concussions. Some falls can even kill a person. Your employer wants you to return to your home at the end of each shift in the same healthy condition in which you arrived. However, the only way that can happen is if everyone in your workplace takes responsibility for slip, trip, and fall safety. The good news is that the things you can do to minimize risks are fairly simple and easy to remember. This course will teach you what to do to avoid injuries and make your workplace safer. After completing this training, you will be able to define slips, trips, and falls, identify slip, trip, and fall hazards, identify basic requirements for walking and working surfaces, explain causes of slips, trips, and falls and ways to prevent them, describe good housekeeping and proper equipment use, and identify proper falling techniques. Slips, trips, and falls, though often discussed together, are somewhat different. Let's define each one. A slip is a loss of balance caused by too little friction between a person's foot and his or her walking surface. A trip is a loss of balance caused by the interruption of the movement of a person's foot, usually by an obstacle. Slips and trips often lead to falls. We can categorize falls in two ways: same-level falls and elevated falls. We can categorize same-level falls in one of three ways: a slip and fall, a trip and fall, or a step and fall. We have already defined slips and trips. In a step and fall, the foot contacts a surface lower than expected, causing the person to fall forward, or the foot lands on an uneven surface, turning the ankle and causing the person to fall forward and sideways. An elevated fall takes place when a person falls any distance, such as from a ladder, downstairs, off equipment, or from docks, trees, or roofs. The majority of elevated falls are from distances of less than 10 feet or 3 meters. In general, same-level falls occur more often, but are associated with fewer and less serious injuries. In contrast, elevated falls occur less often, but are associated with injuries that are more serious. Slips and falls on walking and working surfaces lead to many injuries on a construction site. These injuries can occur almost anywhere, at any time. Select each picture to see examples of slip and trip hazards. Slip, trip, and fall incidents often occur because of highly avoidable factors. Many of the previous examples are the result of poor housekeeping. Tools, boxes, and other items on the ground or on steps can cause you to trip or fall. Spilled oil, water, or other liquids outside can contribute to slipping. Inadequate lighting is another common cause. Lighting that is either too dark to reveal obstructions or that causes glare can cause you to miss an obstacle or something slippery in your path. When equipment is used improperly, incidents happen. Many falls are due to the improper or careless use of ladders, scaffolds, stairs, vehicles, and loading docks. Even wearing the wrong shoes for the conditions can contribute to falls. The last avoidable factor is bad habits. Carrying objects that obstruct your view, not using handrails, moving too fast to be able to avoid hazards, taking shortcuts into less controlled, therefore less safe areas, and being distracted are all potential slip, trip, and fall hazards. Moreover, they are often caused by what seems to be a legitimate need for speed. Everyone wants to get the job done quickly and efficiently, but excessive haste often leads to accidents. Which of the following actions may cause slips, trips, and falls? Select all answers that apply. Wearing shoes with slip-resistant soles in slippery areas. Leaving burnt-out light bulbs in place. Taking the shorter route through an unsafe area. Removing tools left on a staircase. And/or using anti-slip mats at entryways. Now that we've identified the causes of slips, trips, and falls, what can you do about them? You can take very simple steps to make your work area a safer, more productive place. They include keeping it neat, keeping it well lit, using the equipment you need to do your job correctly, and developing good habits. Let's take a closer look at how to implement these solutions. A great way to reduce your risk of slipping, tripping, or falling on the job is to keep your work areas neat and organized. This includes infrequently visited areas that tend to be out of sight and out of mind, such as freight containers used for equipment and material storage. Do not leave anything on the ground, in an aisle, or in a passageway. Boxes, tools, and even paper on the floor can be potential hazards. Many companies mark permanent aisles, passageways, and other areas to prohibit storage and obstructions and to ensure sufficiently wide access where mechanical handling equipment is used. Other companies use floor markings and shadow boards to ensure everything has a place and is in its place. This benefits safety and productivity. Keep floors clean and as dry as possible, and keep cleanup materials well stocked and in an easily accessible area. Where wet processes are used, maintain drainage and ensure gratings or raised platforms are provided. Even after a spill cleanup, the floor may stay wet for some time, so mark the area so people are aware of the danger. If you must walk in a wet area, you should take short steps, keep your feet pointed slightly outward, and move slowly. It's recommended you use boot brush stations to clean the bottoms of your shoes. As you move around the construction site, watch out for anything protruding from the wall or floor, such as nails, splinters, holes, loose tiles, or boards that could trip someone. Address any hazards you find. When using power tools, be sure that cords do not become a tripping hazard. Arrange them out of the way or tape them securely to the floor. Block or place caution signs or cones in hazardous areas, particularly wet surface areas or holes in floors or walls. Covers and/or guardrails provide more affirmative protection from the hazards of open pits, tanks, vats, ditches, etc. The most important thing to remember is to take responsibility for keeping your work area neat and minimizing hazards. If you can fix a problem, do it. If you cannot, notify someone who can right away before somebody gets hurt. Lighting that's too dark or too bright can make it difficult to see hazards that may cause a slip, trip, or fall, so make sure work areas, stairways, and aisles are well lit. If a light is not working, fix it if you can, or notify the proper person. If necessary, ask for a portable light or flashlight. Sunglasses are great for protecting your eyes from bright sunlight, but they can make it more difficult to see hazards in dimmer light, so do not wear them indoors. Before moving on, review what you have learned about good housekeeping. Read the question and then select the correct answer. Which of the following describes a proper way of keeping your workplace neat? Leaving a toolbox in a corridor until the end of your shift, using as bright of lights as possible, running a temporary use extension cord along a wall instead of across an aisle, or putting as many items as you can in a seldom used storage trailer. The improper use of equipment is a significant cause of slips, trips, and falls. Therefore, you must use the equipment you need to do your job correctly. Falls will happen if a walking and working surface fails. Get to know the weight of equipment and materials you will be using, the location of skylights and floor hole covers to avoid, and load capacities of structures where you work. Engineers are a valuable source of information about changing capacities of structures under construction or demolition. Plan for safe work when working at heights. This means surveying for hazards present overhead, but not on the ground. For instance, electrical lines, moving equipment, and unguarded mechanical parts. Let's take a closer look at how to stay safe on walking and working surfaces, such as ladders, scaffolds, and stairs. The first thing to remember about ladders is that it's important to use the right ladder for the job. And we do mean ladder. The use of makeshift ladders is a very dangerous practice. Climbing or standing on barrels, boxes, sawhorses, or other objects that are not proper ladders significantly increases your risk of falling. Follow these guidelines when climbing or descending a ladder. Only one person should be on a ladder at a time. Always face the ladder when climbing up or down. Keep your belt buckle area between the side rails to avoid overleaning. Use both hands when climbing and descending ladders. Never carry anything that will interfere with your grasp as you climb. Use 3 points of contact on the ladder. That means you should keep 2 hands and 1 foot, or 1 hand and 2 feet touching the ladder at all times. If a ladder is required as part of your job, you must have ladder safety training. Step ladders should be equipped with a metal spreader or locking device of sufficient size and strength to securely hold the front and back sections in open position. Maintain all ladders in good condition and inspect them frequently and before each use. If you find a ladder with a defect, tag it out of use. Secure or lock it up so others can't use it, and report it to maintenance or your supervisor. In order to prevent dangerous falls, follow these safety guidelines concerning portable ladders. Ladders should be placed with a secure footing. They should be lashed or held in position. Ladders used to gain access to a roof or other area should extend at least 3 feet or 0.9 meters above the point of support, such as the roof edge. When you're setting up an extension or straight ladder, place its base 1/4 of the working length of the ladder away from the base of the structure. Never use ladders in the horizontal position as scaffolds or work platforms. Any type of safety incident, such as a bee sting or an electrical shock, can cause you to lose your footing. Never use metal ladders near electrical equipment. An approach with any type of portable ladder or scaffolding equipment closer than 10 feet or 3 meters to overhead utilities requires special precautions, for example, powering down. Let's see what you remember about ladder safety. Determine if each action is a good idea or a bad idea and drag it to the appropriate target. There are different types of scaffolds, all with their own regulations and requirements. Some of the general requirements that apply to all scaffolds are: the footing or anchorage for scaffolds must be sound, rigid, and capable of carrying the maximum intended load without settling or displacement. Unstable objects such as barrels, boxes, loose brick, or concrete blocks must not be used to support scaffolds or planks. Scaffolds and their components must be capable of supporting at least 4 times the maximum intended load. Scaffolds must be maintained in a safe condition and must not be altered or moved horizontally while they are in use or occupied. Damaged or weakened scaffolds must be immediately repaired and cannot be used until repairs have been completed. A safe means must be provided to gain access to the working platform level through a ladder, stairs, or a ramp. Overhead protection must be provided for personnel on a scaffold exposed to overhead hazards. Guardrails, mid-rails, and toe boards must be installed on all open sides and ends of platforms more than 10 feet, 3 meters above the ground or floor. Wire mesh must be installed between the toe board and the guardrail along the entire opening where persons are required to work or pass under the scaffolds. Employees must not work on scaffolds during storms or high winds or when scaffolds are covered with ice or snow. Read the statement and choose the answer that best completes it. Scaffolds and their components must be capable of supporting twice the maximum intended load, 4 times the maximum intended. Because you use stairs so regularly, you may take them for granted, but in fact, a large number of slips, trips, and falls occur on stairs. So it's important that you look where you are going at all times, even on a stairway you travel regularly, because it's possible to miss a step if you get distracted. Make sure that you can see over or around anything you are carrying. Never skip steps. Take 1 step at a time and always keep a hand free to hold on to a handrail. Make sure steps are clean and dry. This is especially important for metal steps due to their natural tendency to be slippery. Any water, mud, oil, or ice can make them treacherous. One more factor to consider in slip, trip, and fall prevention is your choice of shoes. Slip and fall injuries are often caused by a combination of a slippery surface and the wrong footwear. For instance, soles that perform well preventing slips indoors on wet, smooth surfaces may be wholly inadequate at preventing slips in outdoor muddy conditions, where lug sole construction boots and shoes excel. Check with your employer or safety equipment distributor about the most suitable shoes to wear in your workplace. Of course, you can use all the prevention strategies we've discussed here, but the possibility of a fall still exists. You can reduce your risk of injury by falling correctly, however. Try to keep your wrists, elbows, and knees bent. Do not try to break the fall with your hands or elbows. If possible, it is better to land on your arm than on your head, and it is better to land on your buttocks than on your back. Before we end our training today, let's see what you remember about the hazards that can lead to slips, trips, and falls. Select each hazard. You can prevent most slips, trips, and falls by simply practicing good safety habits. Now that you've completed this training, you should be able to define slips, trips, and falls. Identify slip, trip, and fall hazards. Identify basic requirements for walking and working surfaces. Explain causes of slips, trips, and falls and ways to prevent them. Describe good housekeeping and proper equipment use. And identify proper falling techniques. If you remember to work carefully, be observant, follow common sense safety rules, and take responsibility for your own safety, you can avoid the potential hazards you encounter and spare yourself the pain and injury that a slip, trip, or fall can cause.